Well, welcome to the Dream Labs. Dr. Contrast here. Just thought I'd give you a quick update here. We went through a little session yesterday with some portfolio work, and during that session, I talked about doing some watercolor work. And I just thought it'd be kind of nice to go back in today and just kind of slow some things down a little bit and show you how this whole process works in some respects, one approach to it at any rate. And it's a very simple operation in terms of just laying down some washes and going back in and laying things and being very, very quick and decisive with it all. And I think that's probably the key to it all. So in preparation for that advent, I went ahead and just put together a real quick little rapid sketch here, a little ballpoint pen study, and kind of tape some things out to protect some of the surfaces to keep the background clean a little bit. So I'm going to walk you through some things here and very, very, very quick, rapid gesturely sketch, being very loose and empathic, very lucid, not a lot of detail work. I just want to get a really good intro. Hey, how you doing there? Hi, Bets, how are you? Good to see you, kiddo. Hope all's well over there. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun here, Bets. It kind of comes with watercolor. It's a very different, for me at any rate, it's a very different approach because it takes an awful lot of concentration. You have to think almost like 10 steps ahead and work very quickly and rapidly with the materials we're doing. So let's get started here. I want to lay down a little bit of water here, kind of soak this thing up just a bit, just kind of get some background in here, and just flood it in there. And just begin to just lay a little bit of water down there. Now, next step, just a little bit of, I'm going to bring these in. I'm working with a palette here, Winsor Newton brushes, obviously, some Canson watercolor board, and also just a little palette here of just some pre-poured, some yellow ochre, indigo, lamp black, and Payne's gray, a little bit of crimson and bright rose red. So we'll see how this thing goes here. Just want to lay some really fast washes. Let's put a little more water down in this guy here. Let me get this cup in place here. Pardon me for reaching across. Just a little bit more water. Just kind of soak this thing up and really work quickly here. Let's get a little bit of ochre in this thing. Put a little bit of a background. Just kind of flood it in. Just walk through it. Just paint in very lightly first. Just drop in some surfaces. Go a little deeper with this guy. A little more tone back in through here. Very romantic. Just very, very casual brush strokes. A lot of water, let's kind of get that in place. Put more tone down, there we go. Now we're working with it. Just kind of flooding it all in here. Just to get a good start. And then you can also, a little trick, you can also come back in here and lay down some things, for example, where you just keep walking this thing. Let's get this a little richer back in through here. Up and in, up and in. Bit of tone. Okay, let's just let that set for a little bit here. Very, very subtle as it goes, and that's fine. We're just going to build it up as we go here. Just a little bit more color, pardon me, as I reach across. A bit more tone back in through here, just to separate that. And there you are, and a little bit more rainbow. That gets a little bit bolder with it. Just kind of drop in some surface here. And again, let's go ahead and clean this brush up. Just pardon me for reaching across here, folks. Sorry about doing that. That's just going to clean this brush up just a touch. And we'll start laying in what I think is a foundation here. Just let's kind of put that, let's get this out of the way so I can see the palette. I'm working that back and forth. There it is. Just going to let that drop a little bit here. I'm going to switch brushes from a 1-inch flat to a very simple 3/4 flat here. And just going to do the same process. Let's get a little bit of this indigo in here. Start laying this down. Let's get the shadows in first. This is a what 1/4 inch, I believe. Yeah, 1/4 inch flat. So we're just kind of laying some tone here. Get the shadows down. Very quick. A little bit of deliberates here. A bit of glass graphics. Let that set up just a little bit. A little more tone back in the wheels. Just slowly but surely build this thing off the page here. And let me turn this back here to square. Does the ink smudge? No, it does not. It's really interesting how it just stays pretty controllable. It's a waterproof ink and working with it, and really interesting how it maintains itself here. So it's going to go back in and get these surfaces down. Real fast washes. Look how that just kind of runs right through that super cool stuff, man. I love this. And back in a little bit of change of pace here. Real painterly here. I've made several references, for example, going through the drawing process. When you go through this whole thing, to me, like a pencil is like a paintbrush. So if you watch very carefully how I go through the process today, you'll see. Let's kind of put a little bit of body graphics in there. Just really empathic. Notice, just picking up some of the same washes, laying it through, running right through the process. Underneath this bone line here, a little bit more tone in it. Just got to get that separation in there. Just lay that down, walk it in, call it a day. Let me stop right there. You know, those surfaces are starting to come together very, very quickly. I hope this is helping. Bets making sense? So far, so good. Let's get a little bit more depth in the wheels here. Let's dye it a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more of that in there. Cool. Get that laying down there. A little bit of water to kind of blend it a little bit. Same thing up on top here. Just building the values, keeping the stains nice and light, and then beginning to build the surfaces up as we go here. Now a little bit more tone back in through here. Underneath that guy, just bring this line up just a bit. Adjust as we go. Get that in place. Now let's kind of really put a nice strong vacuole in there. Real strong depth. Let's lay that in. Same brush, 1/4 inch with the flat. Really neat process to work with. Let's kind of touch just a bit of it on the far side. There we are there. Little by little, I'm starting to get these surfaces to come into place here. Let's go back in through this. Let's wash that windscreen in just a little bit more. Very subtle. Run some color across that. A little bit of a blend in here. Pour out some color from that. Put on the far side graphic here and lay that in just a touch. Reflect it. And there we are, just little by little. Look how that form's starting to come together here. Nice simple value study. And there we are. So far, so good. I come back and let's just tune this up just a bit more. As it starts to set up a little bit more, we just kind of get the wheels to tighten down just a bit more. Don't want a lot of change in here. Just to get a little bit more graphic into this thing. Let's do that. And that. Let's come down below. A little deeper in there. Cool. Yeah, a little bit more impact here. Let's get this hood surface, this little drop piece in here. High contrast black. Clean up the edge just a touch. Make it matter. A little bit of a reflection in there, just a touch. And again, let's get this guy to just read just a touch here. Real slim, far side, just a touch. All of a sudden, look how the graphics that come together here. That's just really interesting. All of a sudden, we're playing, notice, almost like doing a sketch in terms of the pencil. When you work with the watercolor system here, what we're doing here is just letting the paper come through and just toning in the values as we go here. Let me fly in a real quick area here so we can kind of get started here. Gonna get this down. I'm just going to stain this whole process in here first. Really let it run. Right down into that area there, run it across. Again, real empathic, working very quickly here, covering a lot of ground, not worried about a lot of the overkill, a lot of detail yet. It's a lot of just building the surfaces as we go here. Again, a little more tone down in this, a little reflection. Again, back into this area, just kind of tune that in just a bit more. Let's take a real slight little touch in here and just drop in a bit of a shadow break. Let's go back in through here again. Let's dust now. Start to really get into this guy. Come back in through here. A little more bolder shadow. Let's get that shadow to really drop out. Now we're going to start really playing up the contrast. Same brush, just working with it. Have to tone in just a little bit more. Oops, pardon me. Working very quickly, very dexterously. Not to violate too much of the surfaces we already got in place here. Turn that around, get a sharper edge on that guy to kind of tune it in just a bit more. And there we are there. And there we are there. Notice how the graphics now started to really bunch out the page. Hey, how do you decide where to go for the deepest? Now the deepest colors, I think, bets are going to be in the case of where the shadows are going to fall. For example, a lot of light source up on top. You're going to keep that upper surface pretty palatable, pretty light in terms of working with it. But as you drop down on the surfaces, you get a lot of reflection light, a lot of change of pace, for example, into the surface itself. So I almost like to keep the paper operating and really play up the idea of focusing in on where the deepest colors are is going to be the high contrast areas. For example, the lightest scrap on top, a little bit of tone underneath there, kind of that little insert scoop in the vehicle itself. So that plays into an awful lot. Where the shadows are going to fall is where you really start to play this thing up. Let's kind of get in here, finish this shadow off here. Hope that answers your question, Bets. If not, I'll be glad to clarify. A little further. Gonna brush that in. A little cleaner, just slowing it all down just a bit. Now let's come back in and really get this guy to really work here. I'm going to drop this area out right here. Get a lot of high contrast again, right across that insert area where the graphics are. Put a shadow in that. Let that go. A little shadow up on top here, just to kind of change the texture at all. What do you think? That's coming together? Making sense? Okay, let's kind of keep going here. I'm going to really work on getting some of these wheel graphics in place here. Just kind of walk out some of that just a bit more. Not going to plant a lot of texture change here. I just want to get some high contrast graphics in the tires so we can kind of start pulling off some of the surfaces we're dealing with here. A little darker. And so on. There you go. What do you think? That's starting to come together here. So several so soon. Okay, let's kind of tone this in just underneath this just a bit. And walk that surface underneath. Bleed that a little bit more. Get that shadow to be a little bit more distinct. Notice I'm being really quick now to get the surfaces to read. I just want to really, I don't want to fuss an awful lot with this thing. I just want to make sure we got a good empathic, really personality sketching. Let's put a little reflection into this thing. There you go. Cool. A little bit more contrast. Got it. There it is. That's the glass coming back into that upper. So a little bit of the same thing here. Let's get that into place. Get that into place. A little more depth. Super. A little more depth into this. Play the light source now. Got the bandits color across the page itself. Let's gotta get these in place here. Fade that out. And we're almost there. I'm just doing a really interesting value study here to get the thing done and get it all squared away for us here. So let's do this. Let me just do this. A little more shadow underneath this guy. Not so ragged. Let's get that guy in place. That's that. Now very carefully here. A little more tone to get this front end to really kind of drop out of there. That's better. A little more impact. And we'll let it fade. Take a little bit more reflected light back into that front end. And just clean some things up just a bit here. There we are. Going from dark to light, getting a little more drama in this thing. So let's just do this. Just kind of see if we can kind of sneak in here. A little more impact up on top. Same 1/4 inch brush, really handy stuff. I mean, you don't have to take an awful lot of it. A little more shadow up on top of the rim. Let it fade. Walk out of it. On top of the rim. Walk out of it, etc. Very cool. Let's get a little bit more impact in the glass here. Let's gotta lay that down. A little more shadow, reflected light. A little deeper. In this little vacuum. All of a sudden, look how that value surfaces are starting to work here. Hopefully, again, it's getting pretty. I don't want to get to a place here where it's all of a sudden finished sketch. It's more of an empathy study, just looking for character. And not an awful lot going on here in terms of being finessed, obviously. Just enough to kind of get the thing to kind of read for us here. Let's kind of do this a bit more. Let's wash this back a little bit more. There you go. Insert piece there. Get a little more shadow underneath this brow in the front end here. That's better. Real empathic. Let's get this kind of cleaned up just a bit more. This undertow here. A little bit of a reflective change in here. A little shadow break, and that's in there. A little bit shadow break in here. I'm trying to describe the surfaces as I go through the whole process of getting this thing to come together here for us. So, once again, just a little bit more on top here. I just want to take just a dab, get this glass to read a little bit more. There you go. Just kind of pull it away from us here. Let's get this black. Let's get a little darker in this vacuole here. Very cool. A little darker here. Get the shadow to be a little more pronounced underneath there, so it's not so watery looking. Let's kind of really drop that out. Now notice, I'm not going to touch that far side because that's a lot of reflected light coming back into the form itself. Nor am I going to come back in and begin to work along the nose cap at all. That's all to me reflected surface work, so that's really coming back in and letting it just kind of fade as you go here. So where was I? Yeah, I'm going to get this shadow down there. Let's get that guy a little more distinct here. A little crisper, a little more definitive. Kind of grounds this guy a little bit more. Let's walk that through. So it's not as ragged looking down below. Nice and crisp. Settle it. Come back into the wheel side here. Just a little more water added to this Payne's gray. And again, more definition in the shadow. A bit more water added. There we go. Notice as I go here, bets, I'm just building up the values. letting it in a wash, going back and picking up the contrast a little bit more. As it begins to dry, pick up the contrast a little bit more, bit by bit, and just slowly keeping it very fluid, extremely quick, so it doesn't become a real bother or puddle up on you. So the impact here is to get a really high strength of impact and contrast to really get this thing to function for us here. So let's go back and get a little more of this in here too. So that's kind of neat. Let's sit back and get that in. A little more reflected light here. Let's take that into place. Let's kind of walk that back just a bit more. Oop, too much. There we go. Let's kind of break that into place. Get that shadow to break down just a bit more. Nice in here. And that's almost there. I mean, in terms of getting a bit more shadow into here. Let's get this guy to really drop out just a bit more. The more reflected light here. Let's get this to wash out a little bit more. Turn it around the corner. Take that into place. Come across the hip with this thing. More water. Just to get that shape to kind of walk in through there. Notice how we just pull back on it. There it is. Pull back on that. And then again into the front end, and just a little bit more definition in this little reflected shelf here up on top of the surface. So we kind of, and again, a little bit more tone in this guy. That's where the surface begins to change. And one more thing here. Pardon me for reaching in here, okay? Just a bit more reflection of that glass. I get that into that little insert area. A little more at that. And again, into this. A little more shadow in through here. There. Very emotional. And notice not a lot of definition there, but it really begins to read, I hope, graphically here. So so far, let me stop here for a second there, Bets. Is this making sense? Is it helping at all? Am I going too quickly, or am I making good progress here to get the point across for us here? Just move along here as we go. Let me switch gears. I'm going to go back to this wide brush again. And just for what it's worth, let's see if we can get a little more impact up in that background area. A bit more ochre in this thing, just to kind of flood it in. A little deeper. A little deeper here. More spontaneity in the wash back here. That's a little deeper. That helps. Let's see. Amazing. No, not amazing. Just it's just fun stuff. But that's oh gee, look what I did here. I smudged the whole thing up here. Good grief. Got my hands in the way. Sorry about that. Well, we can make something out of that when it's all said and done. Let's just see. Let's go after this thing. A little bit more tone in here. Again, I really want to stress on this stream today about really getting into the nitty-gritty of letting things become very spontaneous. Just enough mood, and it's a little more wash back in through here. A little more in through here. Just kind of get the impact up just a bit more. There we go. Cool. Now, there it is. A little bit more. Oh, let's get that guy just a touch more of that into it. Okay, now that kind of breaks it up just a bit. Now you can get back in. One of the nice things about this process as well, you can take a napkin or a paper towel and begin to take a look at maybe doing a little bleaching, for example. You can go back in and scrape out of it some areas, just kind of re-soak it here. Get some of that out of it. Walk back into that. So there we are there. So I'm going to do some little finishing touches here. I'm going to switch gears to a finer, smaller brush. If I can find it here, here it is. See if this will work. Now I'm going to use this one. Again, this is an 1/8 inch brush here in terms of putting it all together. Let's do this. I'm going to try this first. Do a little bit of an intake piece here. Let's just kind of get a little bit more, just a bit of color. A little bit of a warning lamp there. That will do that. Then we get to that on this side, just a little peek of it. Let's go a little deeper with it. That's that. Now let's kind of put this together. Just a little bit of a little simple wheel center. Get that down. Just now I'm slowing down the process just to get some more impact in this thing. See if I can clean that brush up just a bit. Get a little bit of that. Take this a little deeper into the shadows here. Smaller brush. 1/4 inch, just a little bit more definition. Clean some things up and just get that shadow to run across that break line. Let's get this down here. Pardon me for reaching across again, folks. Much deeper, a little richer. Same up on top here. Let's get this down just a touch. The more reflection in this upper, that helps. A more definition in the brush size here. It kind of gives me that look. Gives me that. Back across this brow. And through here just a little bit more. Just this shadow, just to kind of run just a bit more. Let's kind of drop that in just a touch more. Much better, I think. Now, let's finish off just a couple of details here. All of a sudden, some together here, just a little bit more detail, slowing it down. Let's get a little bit more color into here. Pardon me for reaching across. All right, Bets, you're the lone observer. What do you think? Come together all right? Let's see, I have to jump to a meeting. Thank you for the inspiration and learn a lot. Hey, very good. Thanks, Bets. It's good to have you on board here. Cool. Let's just wash this out just a little bit more. Let me get this, I'll cover that up just a touch here. Almost got that guy coming together pretty nicely here. Just a little value study. There we are. That good. I think the inks. Oh, no, this doesn't make sense. All right, there we are. Just gonna get these guys out of the way just a touch here. And we'll come back in and add just a little bit more of this. Look at a little bit of detail work in this guy. And then we'll just try to wrap it up here just a bit. Keeping it nice and simple. Switch gears to a smaller brush. A bit of detail in there. And again in here. Get up on top here, just a couple of touches here, and we're almost there. And there it is. We're all said and done. There's a nice quick little watercolor study. But now let's do a little bit of this too. Let's put a little bit of graphics in this guy so we can see where we are here. Up a little bit, and there it is. Well, there we have it. First little watercolor study there. It's done together here. Let's kind of add this so we can add some of this in here too as well. So there we are, gang. Nice little watercolor study here. Just a simple little coupe, and hopefully this will all work out for you here. Hope you learned some things. I hope that you enjoyed doing some of the process work here that we've gotten started with. And again, watercolor, just a very exciting, different dimension to work with here. With more detail in this guy. Just a touch more. Gonna clean things up just a touch with that center line in place there. There it is. And get that vertical just running very nicely for us right there. So that's that, gang. That's phase number one. Just a nice simple line drawing here. A little bit of a detail. Let me clean this brush up here. Pardon me for reaching across as we go here. Put this lid back under so it doesn't dry up. Let's put that right back to center stage. And there it is there. Little two-place coupe. A Mercedes-Benz. And we'll just finish it up by doing this. Hopefully I made that big mistake here of getting that smudge in place here. Hopefully that'll cover it up. And there it is, gang. First little watercolor study. Now just putting together a little theme sketch here for us to deal with. And hopefully that works out really well for you here, gang. So and this little touch, and I'm just going to get this dried enough we can take the tape off of this and see what we've got in terms of a border background here to kind of deal with. First of all, let's see if that will kind of wash off just a touch. There we are. Okay, super. Oh, there it is. That'll dry here. All right, let's get rid of this paper, the tape, and see what happens here. If we can get rid of some of this here, and just if it's drying up, yeah, we can pull that back. A little bit of border change. There we are. That's looking pretty good. Not a lot of bleed here. Let me get this up in stage here. Get it up in the front. There it is there. Get rid of that tape. There we are. Nice little backdrop there. This. And into that. And we get rid of this last piece by my hands here. And there it is. There's a little theme study, watercolor. Just a little quick empathy sketch. Bring together a little bit of a change of pace from what we've done normally, like sketches or drawings and renderings and so forth. Let you see what the rendering process is like. And you can also come back into this for what we've got time remaining here. You can go back into this and begin to draw and tighten up some of these surfaces and shapes we've dealt with here. That's not a bad idea sometimes. Come back in and just pick up some definition. Pick up that little change of pace here. About that. Pick that up. Clean up some of the glass graphics. More graphics in through here. Just little things. Just gonna get these wheels. I'm gonna rotate this guy just a bit here. More definition in the tire. Again, rotate it over. And rotation in the tire. Back into that just a touch more. You can always go back in and retune. It's one of the nice things about this ballpoint pen. It doesn't really bleed on you here, and kind of tighten up a little bit, a few things here. And I did it again. So let's do this. There you are. Nice. There we are, gang. This little theme study, a little watercolor sketch. Again, very great. I had the sketch set up ahead of time for time's sake, obviously. Let me do this just for what it's worth. Let's get a little more definition on where this emblem is. Just kind of a little bit more tone in this guy. There it is. Into that. And again into that. And there it is. That's a little thumbnail study. Again, a little watercolor setup just to make sure we've got some surface to work with here. And then that was it, basically. Let me just kind of go back in and just get a piece of paper. Protect this guy. Just a little more definition in this thing here. Doesn't appear to be so ragged. Just a real subtle break in there, and that's it. So there's phase one there, gang. Nice little theme, little sketch, watercolor and such. And come back in through here. And that's it. And let's get rid of some of the pencil lines here. I use as a guide here to get the tape down just a little bit. Bring that up just a touch. Bring that across the top. And let me get the brush out here. We'll clean this thing up. And hopefully call it a day. And there it is, gang. Just a nice little watercolor study. Phase one. We might do a couple more of these in the next couple of streams to come up here as we go. And before I sign off for today, I want to thank Bets for joining us today. And to those of you who might be tuning in later, thank you very much if you do so. I hope this has been of some help to you. And again, the purpose of today's stream was basically this. We've done some time ago. We've done a lot of sketch work. We've done a lot of drawing through with pencil, marker, etc., ballpoint pen. But yesterday I put together a little bit of a portfolio bit with some watercolor work on it. And I just thought I'd take a minute and have you take a look at how that comes together with a very quick little watercolor theme sketch here. And again, sketch done ahead of time. Pardon me. Just a couple of little things and changeovers in terms of working with the shape itself, and then laying down some washes and letting you see how the process works. It's very much like drawing a very simple sketch. There's a lot of paper coming through here. I didn't fill a lot in. I just wanted to let you see the relationship between the basic sketch rendering stuff. Hello from Italy. Hey, how are you? Nice to have you on board here. It's Frankie. Is it Francie? Thank you very much for joining us from Italy. Wow, thank you so much. I just wanted to wrap up one little study here in terms of, there's a real fast little watercolor gesture sketch we started with about maybe 1:30 or so. So thank you very much for tuning in from Italy. How are things over there with you? Are you a designer? I'll just kind of wait for a response here as we go. In the meantime, I just can't thank you enough for taking the time to join into the stream here today and looking at some of the work we've done in the past. With this, I go, for example, say Porco Dio. Hey, very good. Let's see. Um, it's interesting in terms of, again, having you on board here today. And I just really thank you for the time spent to come with us. And I just spent some time over the last few days going through some things in terms of portfolio work, Francie, and wanted to just put together a nice, simple little sketch in watercolor. It's a real fast theme, walking through some shapes and getting some automobile work done here. And for future reference, I've got one here. I just thought I'd show you here. Just going to put this out of the way for a second. I did a series of little pencil sketches here of the Auto Union. And it really interesting how it all comes together for Italy fans. Hey, very good. I really appreciate it. So nice of you to come along here and join us. So in future reference, I might take a moment here and start doing some little watercolor sketches or illustration sketches or thumbnail sketches on getting together maybe a little concept work on this Auto Union Type C 1936 or 37 variety. So it's yet to come, but I just thought today I'd just really take a look at how this whole process comes together. And I think what might be interesting here today is to come back in and let you see, for example, how this whole thing came together. Again, good sketch down first, and laying in some of the graphics and getting some of the interested surfaces down, and then begin just using some washes and do a lot of drawing back in and being very painterly with the watercolor itself. Extremely a lot of fun to deal with here. So just want to take a look at that. And I think it might be interesting too, just for a moment, just to show you, for example, let me just grab some gear here. One of the things I wanted to really generate here, pardon me as I kind of take a little bit of a break, let's get this thing out of the way. One of the things I've been talking about is we've referred to, this little tone paper here, we refer to this Auto Union piece. I think it'd be kind of nice to put together a gesture or a series of sketches based on what we've done here with this page, for example. And let's just kind of set something up here. Pardon me as I sharpen this stick. Let's get a little bit of a platform down here. Let's just say we can, I'm going to do a little rough study here for this before we get into this watercolor. Let's start with this. Come back in through here and pull this thing back just a touch. And we're across here in perspective. Get the far side wheel in place and begin to roll in this rough end. What this body might look like this. There it is there. Back with those little winglets in the back of this guy. Pretty famous for. And coming back in and getting the surface to work here. Just a real rough little composition about where we want to go with this guy, and take a look at what's taking place with before I get into this watercolor here. Let's get this down. And just for what it's worth, just a little bit of a wash here with some marker stuff. Hey, hello, how you doing there, Nemo? Good to have you on board there, Doctor. Just doing a little thumbnail rough here. I'll go back to what I've been working on here for just in just a second, just to get a character down. It's a little rough study here. This may be getting ready for a little bit of a watercolor study. Maybe next week I'm doing one of these Auto Union big type C 1937 machine coming out of, and just a nice real quick little empathy sketch here. Just going to get things started here, just to see what we're after. And we just had some folks join us from Italy. I really appreciate that. And again, super to have you on board here, gang. So thank you so much. Let's just put a little bit of shadow down on this guy. And that comes in. I'll scoop in through here. Just a nice little quick and dirty theme sketch here. Just want to get a feel for where I want to go with this thing when I start to put this sketch together next week. We're going to do a watercolor study on this guy. And a little theme sketch there, just kind of lay it down, just a little bit of a rough study here to get it all put together. And just going to bring a little bit of highlight into this stuff, just maybe that's the right view, maybe enough detail in this guy to keep it all together. Getting a bit of this in place. Steering wheel, I don't know if I've got, no, I do not. Come back in through here, get this down. just a mood sketch, just to kind of get a, is that the right view that I want to work with here? And then we'll go from there in terms of seeing what it all begins to look like, and maybe put a little bit of theme sketch together on this guy for this next go around the stream, and just to kind of put some impact in this thing. Let's see what it does here with a little bit of background in this guy. Just want to set a stage up for just a nice little watercolor study sometime next week, just to get a character down on what this machine might look like in terms of where I want to place it, what I want to emphasize, etc. So we're almost there. Just want to do a little rough, get this all put together. Just gotta put this back in the frame, some sort of frame here. Real fast, lucid little sketch. This is almost like a little thumbnail site before I go into watercolor sometime next week, just to kind of get a bearing on, is this the right view? Do I want that kind of emphasis on it? Just a little bit background study right there. There it is. Hope this was making sense for you, gang, especially those of you in Italy. Really nice to have you on board if you're still there. Thank you so much. It's just great to have you on board. Hope this is making some sense for you. Just a little theme sketch on what that guy might look like when I begin to move into this thing for next week and the like, and then we'll just add maybe some little character and some flavor by doing the following here. Just to kind of get a character sketch down here, just an idea of what this beauty might look like. And let's just do this. And for the Nemo, hang on a second. I want to show you what we did today. There's a little rough study for what might be coming sometime next week, but let's go back to this just for a second. That's what we did today, Nemo. Just a nice little watercolor study, and put together just a real fast little empathic shot here. I started with a line drawing and laid a little bit of background in. And based on what we did yesterday, for example, in that stream, I thought it was really more pertinent now to go back in, for example, after we looked at that portfolio review yesterday, and really, pardon me as I reach across here, and really put together a little theme study, a little watercolor sketch on how it all comes together. So I'm very sorry you missed the operation, but if you go back and look at the stream, you'll see it from start to finish. And again, that little rough study was this, just to kind of put that guy together. Is that the kind of thing I want to look at as far as view goes for this new, let me try a little watercolor next week as well. Just a real fast empathic sketch of getting a mood down or a theme down. Not sure I'll go that view, but we'll see what happens next week. I want to start adding a little bit more watercolor, a little more variety. We'll start doing some fine art work as well, maybe some different landscape work as time moves on here. So for those of you in Italy, ex Francie, I think that's pronounced it correctly. Are you still with us? And if so, any questions you might have. Great to have you on board too, Nemo. Man, I'll tell you what, it's really interesting stuff. And I want to compliment you. I got your note this morning on that sketch you did some time ago. And believe me, that was really a well-done piece of artwork there, young man. Great work. So keep it up. You know full well the talent's there. Really appreciated you sending that along. And to think you did that some 30 years ago, you said, that was just terrific. Good stuff. So there again, watercolor, a very different empathic approach to it all, I'm sure, but it has a lot of relationship. They're just basic drawing skills. Notice a lot of paper coming through Nemo. We really kept it nice and fresh, a lot of high contrast area, very gesturally sketch, just to get the theme down and how to work with the medium. And I'll be doing more and more of this as time moves on in the stream itself. So very interesting here, gang. So let me just stop here for a moment. And any questions at all about where we are, mood-wise, information, etc. Any questions, concerns? This took a little bit of time, maybe a 30-minute sketch, but I wanted to just go through a step-by-step process on laying down the washes, how to start it, where to begin and add into it, where to draw back in, where to begin to keep the contrast up and the levels up and so forth, and then begin to pull back the paper and then go back to the last thing, just adding a little bit of detail work, like the wheels and some of the front-end graphics and the like. Interesting. What pencil is the white one you should use? Interesting. What pencil is the white one you use? Oh, this one, this white pencil here. This guy is a white Prismacolor pencil number 938, and really interesting how that begins to pull off on toned paper. For example, that's what we generated this sketch with right here in Nemo. This was done with that same white pencil right there. There it is. And really, if you look at your materials, for example, if you can get a hold of some Prismacolor pencils, which is a wax-based operation, you'll find an incredible difference in shading and drawing skills that you already possess. So let's go a little further with that guy, and that hopefully that'll answer the question. It's a Prismacolor white pencil PC number. It's designated as PC 938. I hope that'll be really cool for you. So I hope that answers your question. But again, thanks for joining in here. I'm very sorry you missed the beginning of it. I sent out a notice about maybe just prior to 1:30. We're going to be starting here. And I know it's 7:30, almost 8 o'clock your time, Nemo. So thanks for joining in. Hope you've had a great day, and I'm going to keep after this thing. Well, let me bend this back a little bit so I can pull me a little bit of the water. There we are. There's the finished product. This little thumbnail sketch. And once again, thank you so much for joining in. We're going to come back again with a nice typical schedule on Tuesday next week. For example, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we might pick up on a couple of watercolors, and on Tuesday is going to be a lesson plan based on going back into this line weight process, or the language of line we're dealing with. Wednesday, I might come back into a little bit watercolor, and again, maybe on Friday, change gears and get into some product design work or some architecture, whatever. But again, please feel free to visit my website at drcontrast.com, drawing programs and the like. Really interesting too that, by the way, if you go to the website, Nemo, and anybody else who's joining in here for me and watching this stream, feel free to take a look at the store. I've added some things, for example, like print work, and we're adding a publication, and I'll have some information later on today, Nemo, about pricing and payment and so forth, so I'll get that to you as best I can. I wish you all the very best, and thanks so much again for tuning in, gang. Hope you have a great day, and I always sign off with this. Any questions? If I've done something right, tell me. If I've done something wrong, tell me. Feel free to drop me a note at my email address at jim@drcontrast.com. Be happy to more and respond. And again, thank you to those of you in Italy that joined in, ex Francie, I believe it is, 03. Great. Thank you so much for joining us here. And to Nemo, you especially, thanks again for all your time and effort. And as we go throughout the day, hope we all have a great weekend. And again, I will sign off with this because I think it's important. Never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, gang. Have a great weekend and all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.